This video includes spoilers for the Chainsaw Man manga. There will also be mentions of other manga, but there will be timestamps to skip those if you need to. Also, if you are new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to notify you if some of your favorite manga or anime appear on this channel. Thanks a lot, and now we can move on to the video. If you have been paying attention to anime recently, then you have definitely heard of the anime Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man is a seinen series that has blown up, and since I read it a while back, I thought I might as well check out the reviews for the manga. I realized quickly though, that a lot of the community of Chainsaw Man almost felt a personal attachment to Denji's character. Many argued Denji's emotions were displayed to perfection, and that Denji's goals, actions, and the difficulties of his life were incredibly well thought out and or relatable. Albeit, I don't know if anyone should relate to Denji so much because the guy is kind of a simp. And some even said that Denji has been the most relieving protagonist to come to paper in a while, and that there hasn't really been any other character like him. Although most people expressed this opinion, I never felt that. I was actually kind of confused that so many people interpreted it differently, so I went back to reread the Chainsaw Man manga just to find out that my thoughts on it didn't change. So in my opinion, Denji is a failed protagonist that just doesn't hit the mark on the majority of his core attributes. And before you say, but acta, the manga is only 116 chapters in and still has a lot of time to construct Denji's character. The majority of character development should be linear, meaning progress over time. So let me just explain myself, and you can tell me if I'm wrong later. I think the first and probably biggest problem with Denji is how his sexual impulses or desires are written into the manga. And my problem isn't that the author uses this character trait, because it's a common archetype in most animes and can help to foster character development. My problem is that it's wasted on Denji because it's not utilized to the extent of other amazing mangas like Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. For example, the protagonist of Mushoku Tensei, Rudius, who is either more or equally as perverted as Denji, lived a life full of lust for sexual intimacy. This was all quite normal for him in his past life, but he realized quickly that his desires were not fulfilling and in fact caused him more suffering. His father cheating on his wife with their maid nearly destroyed their family. The life he fantasized with Eris destroyed him mentally when she left him. And eventually, when he establishes a new relationship, he loses control of his impulses, causing him to objectify his woman. These events demonstrate how Rudius' sexual impulses were used masterfully to illustrate what he should strive for in his life. Only after living out his fantasies does he realize that they were never quite as satisfying as he thought, and so he searches for the true meaning of life and love. Denji, on the other hand, continually makes the same mistakes time and time again with not a single bit of self-improvement. He is never held accountable for his lusts, and as a result, even in chapter 103, Denji feels the need to make his identity known as Chainsaw Man simply so that the ladies will be all over him. He has no understanding of the negative implications associated with his identity being revealed because his mind is still heavily clouded by his desires. A great example of where his desires could have been contested is when he touched power and realized that it was not as special as he imagined. Had he been forced to relive this moment in his head for a couple chapters, he may have tried to find a better meaning to life. This could have also been worked into his internal conflict with Makima in the later chapters of Part 1, but instead of that happening and potentially setting him up to be a stronger character in Part 2 of the manga, he is rewarded by Makima when she forces his hand onto her and grants him one wish for beating the Gun Devil. Another example, which is easily one of the best arcs of the manga, is the time Denji spent with Reze. Before meeting Reze, Denji believed that his heart was set on Makima. He believed in this fantasy he had created with her so much that he started to speak to himself as if he was speaking to her in reality. Even while he is with Reze, he often asks for Makima's help to save him from the feelings he is catching for Reze, or he tries to explain the truth of the situation to Makima as if she is there. In reality, this is symbolic of the fact that Reze represents Denji's true desires and a path towards self-improvement, while Makima only represents an abusive love. Even after Reze reveals herself as Bomb and Denji fights her, the emotions they had together are still real, and she even considers to meet him again in the cafe. As much as Reze wanted to say it was fake, she enjoyed his company and started to fall for him. And as much as Denji knew he had to kill her because he's a devil hunter, he still chooses to save her. At the moment when they are sitting on the beach, Denji realizes that he was foolish for saving her and might have just made another mistake. But either way, he chooses to pursue what he thinks is right in life and confronts Reze in search of the truth. Ultimately though, Reze ends up dying, and Denji never gets the clarification that he needed to figure out whether she liked him or not. Within this arc, it feels as if Denji really grows as a character, and him nearly dying because of his sexual desires could have served as a huge stepping stone for his growth throughout the next arcs in the manga. But sadly, this moment is forgotten. He never mentions Reze again. Her death at the hands of Makima becomes a missed opportunity to feel his revenge, and all the growth he experiences disappears as soon as the next arc starts. It was honestly painful to watch such a good set of characters and dialogue disappear as if they never even mattered, when Reze was the closest thing he had ever had to true love. This also brings up another one of the glaring issues in Denji's character, which is his humanity. The longer the manga goes on, the harder it becomes to quantify the emotions Denji can actually express after becoming a devil. After Himeno's death, Denji witnesses the pain Aki is going through but cannot empathize with him. He searches through every relationship he currently has, and yet he notices that his pain would only last mere seconds. Just from this interaction in the manga, it seems like this is a closed case, and Denji just does not feel his emotions like a human anymore. He can still experience them, but they do not have a long-lasting effect on his mental state. The problem with this understanding, however, is that after Power and Aki die, Denji loses all ability to think for himself and wishes to be one of Makima's dogs to escape the pain of his life. Literally, Makima's whole plan to obtain the powers of the Chainsaw Devil was to torment Denji to the point where he submits to her willingly. But how would any of this make sense, considering he already stated that he would feel nothing for Aki or Power if they died? There is one argument people can make for this by saying that thinking of a situation is often not the same as experiencing it. And yes, that would be a fair argument to make, but there are still problems even with that. If we try to imagine the feeling of something, our brain will automatically try to find a time when we felt a similar emotion. So by remembering how we felt in the past, we can create an estimate of how we might feel in the future. Denji has experienced death all through his childhood because of Pochita, his father, and all the death he has experienced as a young devil hunter. Therefore, it is not out of the realm of possibilities that he should be able to imagine what the pain might feel like of losing Aki or Power. That pinch you feel in your chest, or the difficulty to breathe straight when you imagine something horrible happening to the people closest to you. Denji felt none of that. To lack that much of your humanity makes it impossible to think that Makima, a smart devil, would ever employ her strategy, or that Denji would even submit to her so willingly. And even at the time of writing this, chapter 116 has once more contested Denji's sense of emotion, since he is in the process of collecting money to support the new Control Devil's future. How are we, as the reader, supposed to connect or understand the protagonist of the story if his actions lack a reason? How can we love the climax of a plot or arc when the ending does not make sense with previous statements in the story? This constant vagueness of Denji's emotions makes him worse of a character, not because he does not understand his emotions, but because he is made to be more human than he is capable of being. Denji is a devil who lacks a heart, and I could only imagine how much better of a character he would be if he actually had an internal conflict with this lack of emotion, rather than him feeling emotions randomly to progress the story, or to fake character development. This problem actually ruined a couple of the plot twists or regular moments in the story because I was not able to focus on the plot when Denji was acting out of character. The last point I'm going to make is still a critique of Denji, but also of the community that loves his character as well. Denji is not supposed to be a relatable character for a good reason. Everything that Denji symbolizes causes him to suffer in life as opposed to enjoying it. The problem with this is that people think that Denji's goals are reasonable and fair, that living a simple life without difficulty is respectable. The truth of the matter is that Denji's character has a negative influence on how many people interpret themselves. When we believe in something, we often find other people who agree with us because it makes us feel happy that other people view things in the same way that we do. This consensus can be amazing if it helps us realize that we are not the only people who think in a certain way, but more often than not, it blinds us to the opposing side. For every idea we have, there is someone who disagrees. This is why literature is such an amazing medium, because authors can work difficult themes into their protagonists to try to teach the reader more about the world or life. When we look at Chainsaw Man from this perspective, it is clear that it does do well at teaching certain themes. Makima's use of Denji is a sad depiction of abusive relationships, and many people who were in one said that this caused them to reevaluate their life and find peace. Those are the reasons why creating a strong, relatable main character is important, and specifically why I think Denji is failing many people. Like I said before, Denji barely has had any character development, and most of his development lacks reasoning or is forgotten. This causes, and has caused, many young men who think similarly to Denji to form a consensus amongst each other as opposed to seeing the problem of Denji's character. Denji is still a very shallow person, and through Makima, many of his negative desires were built upon, as opposed to being torn down and reevaluated. Denji is not a role model, and if you relate to Denji in a larger way, then that is your sign to reevaluate your life. Think of your desires and decide whether they will honestly be fulfilling for you in your future. Don't look at Denji and the community as a sign that your thoughts are normal, or your dreams are reasonable. Just because something is normal or popularized in society does not mean that it is healthy or beneficial for you individually or society as a whole. Rather, seek discomfort and the difficult path because it will leave you feeling more accomplished when you are older. Anyways, that is all I have to say for this video. If you have decided to stay with me to the end of this video, then thanks a lot and I really appreciate it. If you like this video, then feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to notify you if some of your favorite manga or anime appear on the channel. Alternatively, if you did not like the video and disagree with me, then let me know in the comments and I will make sure to respond to you when I get the chance. Anyways, that's all. See ya.